Experience with leadership really started with the Black Student Application Program. In a nutshell, it's an initiative that aims to increase the number of Black applicants to the University of Toronto. It is not quota-based. The criteria is exactly the same. What it aimed to do was increase the number of Black individuals involved in the file review and application process. Now, I was asked 3 months into medical school if I would feel comfortable sharing my story of being the only Black medical student for the public rollout of the BSAP program. This involved doing a media circuit and some media interviews and talking very candidly and vulnerably about my experiences. Now, I remember asking a few of my friends in the upper years, my mentors, my friends and family, whether or not they thought I should do this. It was a unanimous no. Chika, do not do this. Institutions do not like people who challenge the status quo. You are way too early on in your medical training to be advocating for something that can be seen as so controversial. They told me if I did this, I was going to ruin my shot at a residency. It would be a huge target on my back. However, if you recall the questions that I asked all of you to percolate on today with respect to leading with authenticity, these are the same questions that I asked myself at this time. What is my truth? I knew that there was trauma in isolation and in racism. My why was that nobody should have to endure what I was already enduring only a couple of months into medical school. And I knew that my strength was that I had the ability to use communication to transcend, connect, and occupy powerful spaces. And so that's exactly what I did. And photoed here are pictures of myself in the Toronto Star and CTV News, where I boldly and bravely and audaciously spoke about the challenges that I was experiencing being the only Black medical student, but also championing for equity in the medical admissions. And I remember within 24 hours of this breaking into the public consciousness, I received a text from one of my friends who said, "You just ruined your shot at a dream residency, and you've destroyed your career." However, it was really important for me to lean into that vulnerability and hone my ability to have bold conversations. And throughout the course of the rest of my 4 years of my medical training, I continued to lean into this ability of honing bold conversations in a variety of forms. Of course, naturally being a poet and an artist, accessing words and oration was the most natural way for me to have a bold conversation. And so I wrote and performed poetry and released it. I also started keynoting, and I started doing more media and public-facing advocacy work. And I remember one of my mentors literally pulling me aside and saying, "Chika, you need to stop. This is way too risky. Why don't you wait until residency, after you've matched? No. Why don't you wait until fellowship? No, Chika, actually, why don't you wait until you're a staff? Wait until you've gotten a couple appointments, and then you'll be safe. Then you'll be okay. Then you can speak up, because what you're doing right now is way too risky." However, looking back on this, I actually embrace what I now call audacious leadership. And when we think about audacity, we tend to think of it having this negative connotation. But I challenge you to actually reframe it. Because to be audacious for me means being bold, leading these bold conversations, being fearless, courageous, but also taking a calculated risk. And I stated during this time that while doing the right thing can be risky, it's almost always a question of how to do the right thing, not whether or not to do the right thing. However, there is a dark side to audacity. And I put this here because I want to lean into being transparent as a leader. And when I released my article with Flair magazine in 2018, if you can picture myself sitting in my endocrinology lecture, trying to focus on metabolism and hormone resistance and my phone blowing up with notifications, it was of this exactly. Individuals saying that there's a monkey roaming the campus of U of T, that quote unquote, colored people are simply a fraction of white people, and maybe that's why there aren't as many Black doctors. And having to ask myself in this moment if I truly wanted to continue to dare to trust my compass and to lead as myself authentically. However, I decided to push past in the face of this. And I was fortunate that despite all of the hesitancies and fears and warnings, that I was able to match to my top choice residency program, which is psychiatry at the University of Toronto. And I was also fortunate to be named as valedictorian of my graduating class. And I stated during my address that I defined myself in the last 4 years through understanding and hopefully demonstrating that there is a power in vulnerability and in narrative. And with a community to stand behind you and a mentor to guide you, you can take the risk that might move mountains.